So one of the things that you'll realize when you get into academia, whether you're starting out as a student or somebody that you've been in the game for a long time, is that people will take advantage of you. In fact, that is part of the culture, is for people to actually take advantage of you. It is within the training to think strategically, to think about how you can get from here to there, what is the best possible way to get a paper published. All of this kind of stuff is very much strategic thinking. And as a consequence of that, you often find a lot of people that will take advantage of other people. And many times you will feel duped. You will feel like you've been scammed. You will feel taken advantage of in many different ways, whether it is from an advisor, whether it is from a colleague, whether it's from somebody that you work with. You're going to experience these kind of things. And what I want to get to and what I want to talk about today is, how do you actually process some of this stuff? What do you do? First of all, I think the key thing is to recognize that it did happen to you. And it probably has happened to a friend of yours or any number of things. But what I want to just say is that that was a real phenomenon that you went through. And I think we have a tendency to say that that did not happen, or that was all in my head, or it was just the way that things were. But to be honest, you should never come out of an experience feeling really terrible. And you should really not feel like you're getting taken advantage of. That is a sign of a broken relationship somehow. Something is broken in of itself. So what I want you to do is realize that it actually did happen. And realize that it was not your fault and why that actually did happen. When that, you might have a tendency to sort of think about, like, hey, this was me. I was in this moment where I wasn't protecting myself and somebody took advantage of me. And frankly, that's kind of a silly way to think about things. You should never go into a circumstance or a situation that makes you feel so uncomfortable, or that you end up being taken advantage of in some sort of way. That's a non-safe environment. That is not the world that we want to live in. In fact, maybe you could have made it a little bit less or more safe by having safeguards up, making sure that you were guarded, all those kind of things. But in reality, you're not going to be able to stop something from happening if that person is taking advantage of other people. And what you're going to notice, so the reason why this happens, right, is that it is a marketplace, it's a culture. It's an arena that is like everything else in life, right? If you look at everything else, we're just human beings, right? And if we're just human beings, there are some people that have different personality traits compared to others. And then those people that have maybe what's called darker personality traits tend to take advantage of other people and make them feel bad in different ways. And you're going to run into all of these kind of people around the world. Any time that you interact with any part of your life, you're going to run into these people that take advantage of you and make you feel bad, or put you in a really weird situation that you're uncomfortable with. So I think, the first thing, as I mentioned, is recognizing that that really did happen. And that was a real occurrence. And yes, it shouldn't have happened. So I think the second thing is to start thinking about, how do you set up better boundaries in your life so that going forward, that doesn't happen as much. So yes, as I mentioned, that should not have happened to you, and you shouldn't have to have guards up. But in reality, there are people that take advantage of you. And so you have to have those boundaries up in your life, whether it is working within certain amounts and you don't answer emails after certain times, or you really start doing some due diligence on some people, getting some feelers out. Don't work with anybody that you don't know for a long time. All of those kind of things are really incredibly important, because what's going to happen is you're going to get into situations where you don't are going to get taken advantage of, and it's hard to deal with those moments of getting taken advantage of those things. So the best thing that you could do is plan for the fact that it's actually going to happen, and think about ways that you can check in with yourself. Now, if you're in a situation like this, right, I need to sort of let you know that it probably is not going to get better. And that's has to do with a lot of development work, a lot of sort of thinking through things on the other person's part. And you can't fix that. There's nothing that you could do about it. You might be able to have a conversation with them and let your voice know it, but that's about it. And you have to let them go their very own way. So I think having better boundaries, carving out, like, I'm just not going to deal with this situation again. I am going to stop the situation, find something else. Think about ways that you can remove as much as you possibly can, the sort of what I call crazy, right? Like just the things that make you feel bad in your life. Remove that from your life as much as you can, so you feel comfortable going forward. And the more that you work on that, and the more that you think about how I'm going to set up my life and I'm going to be proactive with this, the better off that you're going to be. And if things are giving you those signals of like, I don't know, this is uncomfortable, I don't like the situation, use that as a really strong signal. That is a strong signal. Don't use it as a weak signal. Use it as a strong signal to move forward, to walk through some of what you need to do going forward, and make those changes in your life, those positive changes. I know I have a hard time doing this myself. I tend to be more of a kind of softer person. So I have a hard time dealing with setting these boundaries and setting these things out. But I think it's very important to go forward in how to deal with getting taken advantage of or getting duped, is setting up these boundaries. You're like, wait a minute, this is not right. Somebody should not be yelling at me at this circumstance. Like, that's not cool. You don't just go around yelling at other people, right? Or you don't just jump to something very quickly, right? Like, that's not what normal people do that are functioning human beings. We show empathy, we show dignity to other people and help them walk through different circumstances. And so use any moment like that you run into those circumstances as like, maybe I shouldn't interact as much with that particular individual, and then move on from there. Build the community, build the stability that you actually want, build the what's called the coalition of people around you that you actually want to be around. And the more that you proactively do this, the better off that your life is going to be. It's going to feel a lot better going forward. And I think sometimes you might be in a situation where you might have to interact with those kind of people. The best thing you could possibly do is just have very specific, defined needs, defined actions to interact with those people, and then that's it. And then move on from there. The more that you sort of put boundaries around these situations, the better off that you're going to be. You don't want to be taken advantage of and manipulated in different ways. It's going to happen, but you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself as much as you possibly can. And then last but not least is remember that you are not to blame. You are not at fault. You are probably doing the right thing, and you're probably interacting in a very earnest and honest way. You're not at fault. And I think remembering that it's not you that's dealing with this situation, it's actually somebody else that's dealing with it. So I want you to take that going forward and process that and think about this. It's like, how can I live a healthy life from this so that I can do well going forward, despite all of the craziness that's going on around you. You just keep walking your healthy life, whatever that means for you. For me, it's getting exercise, hanging out with my family, working when I need to work. I don't work so that's endless, like that's crazy. I work when I need to work and I get things done, and then that's it. And then I go home and I spend time with my family. I spend time celebrating, doing healthy lifestyle stuff, and then move on from there. And that's maybe a good goal for everybody. When you can go home, you can watch your episode of Seinfeld and feel okay about watching your episode of Seinfeld and sleep at night. That's all that matters. That's really it. And the rest of it is just a bunch of goofiness that goes on. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.